You are now listening to PODCORN, episode 20, for August 14th, 2013.
Hey folks, this is Amy Reeder and Brandon Montclair, and we're doing a podcast, a PODCORN podcast for you guys.
You get like a spaz twang.
And
Yeah, because it's like...
well, it was so scary I decided to abort.
Spaz twang is our special secret podcast that...
And Amy! Yeah, it's a weird sound. I just learned that I can make that sound.
I've noticed it for quite a while.
Oh, come on. Today we're gonna, Brandon's double story, Lord of the Dark Knight, right?
Yeah, Lord of the Dark Knight.
Well, you always write it down as LODR, and I'm always like, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
No, Lord of the Rings is with The Hobbit. Lord of the Dark Knight is with Batman.
What is it really?
Batman, Lord of the Dark Knight.
No, it's not Lord of the Dark Knight. What is it? What is it called?
I'm not familiar.
You do, you know what it is. You're not helping me.
Batman Legends of the Dark Knight.
Legends, thank you.
It's a DC's digital first series. It takes its name from an ongoing Batman Legends of the Dark Knight, had a long run of just kind of oddball stories. A lot of one-offs or short runs that just kind of, they threw out there. A lot of good stuff if you got the old Legends of the Dark Knight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, which I'm pretty sure all of it's available online.
Yeah?
But Legends of the Dark Knight 2.0, as the kids say.
Yes. Is it all web? Legends of the Dark Knight?
Yeah, it's digital first, so they
Okay.
print a lot of the stuff later on in print.
Yeah.
But
that would make
issues
sense.
or installments, 61, 61 and 62. Number 61 and 62 is a two-part story
Yes.
that I did with Shane Davis, which was actually a one-part story.
Yes, it was originally a one-part story.
And they cut it into two, but we're just looking at it now, and they did a lot of heavy visual editing.
Yes, because they were, I guess, making it into a digital comic. I mean, I haven't bought a lot of digital comics, so I don't know how it works, but they're basically trying to fit things in a landscape format.
Yeah, well, like I said, they certainly did, like, take Halloween Eve that they did last year. They did a couple of tricks where they would zoom in and zoom out on a guided view.
Yeah.
But this, they really, did a landscape where they're cutting a lot of the pages in half and rearranging the panels and statting some panels and
But did you ever read Halloween Eve on a computer? Because maybe it's
Yes.
different on a tablet.
Why would it be different on a tablet?
I don't know, because Halloween Eve, I thought you could scroll around on the image. But yeah, with this one...
I'm just thinking this is DC doing it, but I don't know.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, it's through Comixology, so I just assumed.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, it's very different, but, like, that way I get to read it closer up and stuff.
Yeah, as a purist, you'd be like, oh, well, why couldn't they just do full view? But...
Yeah, on some of them especially, but,
So just, I'm not making any excuses, but it was created for a standard comics page, and DC putting it on digital, and we'll get into, kind of the origin of this story and everything else, has done it that way. But if they collect it, I imagine, it'll go back to the standard format.
yeah.
What's interesting is that Shane and I received proof copies, and it's just proof over the PDF, and say, oh, this looks great, and then it's a totally different book when it hits online.
Yeah, I wonder, actually, I'm thinking about that, and because they've got the guided view, I wonder if since that changes as well, that they just kind of, the standard to deviate from is the copy that you got. You know what I mean?
Of course. Maybe we're just big dummies and you can press a button and get it.
Yeah, I'm
full page.
like, we like don't know how to work it.
Yeah, colors look great on
Oh, gorgeous, yeah. Who was the colorist?
Wendy Broom.
Very awesome, yeah.
And it's co-written by me and Shane Davis.
Yes.
Inks by Sandra Hope, and then Michelle Delecki did a couple of inks to finish it off.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Colors by Wendy Broom, and letters by Saida
Temofonte. So that's at least 3 women. right there. That's
Maybe
pretty cool.
4, right? I'd say seed. Right? It sounds like a
I'm gonna not.
woman's
I'm
name.
not gonna assume till I know. Anyway,
Couple of dudes worked on this book too. Me and Shane Davis.
yeah, the dudes, and yeah, no, I thought it was really good. Like, I mean, I already knew what it was gonna be, right? Like, I had read the script a while back.
Yeah, total spoiler alert. We're gonna talk about a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of...
we're gonna spoil this, so you know, maybe read it.
Yeah, read it. If you read it, great. If you hate spoilers, then press pause and go spend 99 cents twice at $1.98 to get both parts, and then come back. But this is
Yeah,
going to be
not
like kind
even
of we're
$2.
going to do like a director's commentary
Yeah.
because it's inevitable that the book will be a classic. So might as well
Yes.
get that squared away.
Yeah, no, it's a really good book because it's basically the idea of it is it's doing all the things that you really want to see in a Batman book, and it gets away with being able to do all of those things because, you know, because of the twist at the end, which we'll get to in a little while.
Yeah, but as far as how this story came to be, Shane was working on Earth 1 Superman. He did 2 graphic novels for DC, you know, literally bestsellers, right? New York Times bestsellers. But sometimes he'd be waiting on script or approvals for something, and he'd have some downtime. And, you know, sometimes they'd kick him a cover or this or that, but he would have, you know, it started to add up, and he was just getting frustrated. So he requested a side project where, hey, can I just work on what, you know, in the business they would call an inventory story, right? Where it's like, oh, we don't know exactly where we're going to put it, but, you know, just work on it and then we'll figure out a place for it later. And this actually all began before the New 52.
Yeah.
So, you know...
So that made it really difficult, right?
Well, I don't know if it made it really difficult. It just, when it was done or half done, it really didn't fit in, and it's the old costume, so you need to change it and do everything else. So Shane would pick away at it, and then he'd get new script, and then he'd work on Superman Earth 1. Mm-hmm. He'd have another break and work on it. So, you know, maybe over the course of a year, he would draw it, but, you know, it was his idea initially, and he brought me in to co-write it with him. And
He really wanted to do a Batman book for a while.
Well, everyone wants to do Batman.
Yeah.
And he wanted to do not only Batman, but Clayface. So, yeah. So we came up with this cool story.
Why. It's a pretty cool design.
Twist. Yeah. So, but jumping in so we don't have to dance around it. I mean, you know, the big spoiler is that we have a story about Batman, and the entire, you know, it takes place over the course of a night.
Yeah.
Where Batman, as he typically is on the prowl to find Clayface. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you don't really tell why, just that it's very important to him. And the twist at the end, like, you know, again, all fair warnings for spoilers. The twist at the end is that it actually wasn't Batman looking for Clayface all along. It was Clayface himself metamorphosized into Batman. People not familiar with Clayface.
Yeah.
He can change shape. So it was really... So every time you saw Batman, it was really Clayface. And, you know, all the characters that you see also are really supposed to be Clayface too, right? Because that's why you have a lot of conversations with people talking to themselves. So
yeah, that's why it's like an all-star cast.
Right. Yeah, and it was great because, yeah, Shane wanted to do a book, and it makes sense. If I only get to do one, I want to put every single thing Batman into it. So I want to have a Commissioner Gordon scene on the rooftop, and I want to put in the Joker, and I want to put in Poison Ivy, and, you know, we got all of that, and a lot of fighting and a lot of action, and it cuts around, and, you know, it was really fun to work on, and he tried to make it extra clever, you know? So, I don't know, hopefully it works. You think it worked?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was, sorry, I keep having flow problems.
So the idea in Break the Mold is that everything is Clayface, and he wanted to test himself, and that was kind of Shane's idea, where he wanted Clayface to be fighting, you know, all the different rogues gallery, so he can kind of get to it all.
Yeah, he gets
and then,
kind of...
Then he would fight Batman, but it's him, you know what I mean? And you know, so Clayface is, you know, kind of mentally imbalanced. There have been so many different versions of Clayface for long-time continuity readers.
Yeah.
At least 5 or 6 different Clayfaces. So this would be like, again, another little twist. And in kind of his fractured personality, right? His mind, he's taken over being people too long. He doesn't quite have a sense of self.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm always being beaten by Batman. The only way I can fight Batman and have a chance is if I basically right. I train against Batman, and how do I do that?
Yeah.
Half of me will be this fake Batman, and the other one chasing it. So you know, and then to make it a little bit more sophisticated and complicated, yeah, you want it to be that instead of just a series of fights, which Shane kind of had like in an arena type of thing. So no, so that should be the mystery, and you don't get it until the end, and it's a twist, and it's funny because Batman is so manic looking for Clayface, but he is Clayface the whole time, and does he know he's Clayface? Well, kind of, but kind of not. So it's you know, it's not a very stable narrator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, so. And also it seems to me that the narration is totally archetypal, right? Because it's how Clayface sees Batman,
right.
And everybody really wants to see Batman as the classic Frank Miller Batman.
Yeah, that was totally part of the appeal. And I think that's what I brought into it is to rip off Frank, because from a story point of view, right, he doesn't know Bruce Wayne, he doesn't know the Batcave, and he doesn't know the origin, he doesn't know the man behind the mask.
Well,
he just knows that he's this guy who's really badass who beats him up and always puts him in jail.
Yeah.
So he becomes, all he knows is, if you're in that world,
is the myth
of Batman, right? So that's why I said, so that's why, and then he has the fake voice that he puts on. He does everything else, and you make him want to be Frank Miller because that's how everyone thinks of it. And I think that works, you know, not to use too cute a word, but in a meta-textual type of way, because so many writers want to copy Frank Miller. So the idea Shane and I have is like, no, you make it a total Frank Miller ripoff. So people read, it's like, oh, but you know, he's talking really like a hard-boiled detective, and he's beating people up, and he's very driven, and he's getting all this stuff. But that's just, it's me and Shane mimicking Miller, right?
Yeah.
But it's also Clayface mimicking Batman, or what his perception of Batman would be.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting, you know. So that was
That was pretty smart.
Pretty
Hopefully,
clever.
people get it.
Well, now they're going to get it because they got the inside track. But of course, as a writer, if they don't get it by reading it, you've failed. You know. And one of the reasons I was worried about it, not worried, but concerned that they were splitting it in two, was that you'd read the first one and you'd get totally the wrong impression that this is just a Batman story. It's like, I like now that they're both out to talk about it, because you could read both, because it really was designed as a one-shot. And as Shane says, and I agree, and what you always try to do is you can go right back to the beginning and read it again and see all the things we did. We talked about Batman, it being not the New 52 costume, right? But there's actually a scene where he's perched on the Batlight, and he's in the Neil Adams costume, which was the yellow symbol bat.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of times people will point stuff like that out and say, oh, you know what? They drew the wrong symbol because they used the old one by mistake in this panel. But that was like, no, it's the old kind of shape of the cape.
Has anybody said anything about that?
Well, I haven't. You didn't say anything about it. You're the only one
well,
who's read
I'm
it.
the last person to notice bat symbols. Like, whenever people show all the bat symbols, I'm like, really?
But if you look at the composition, it's very nice because it's on
perfect,
top of the thing. But the idea was that's a mistake that sometimes artists make.
Yeah.
And you don't catch it, maybe as the editor or something else. But this was, no, he can change shape, so it was to do a different thing. And
that's hilarious.
And of course, all of the conversations are supposed to be sound like a person talking to himself, right?
Yeah.
They finish each other's sentences, they do other stuff like that, which gets more and more intense to the Matches Malone scene, where it's just like, you know, it's completely a conversation
with himself.
And Matches Malone, for people who don't know, and you probably didn't clock this, but Matches Malone, in continuity, was the character that Bruce Wayne would pretend that he is when he went undercover into like crime.
Oh,
I'm gonna
really?
I'm gonna say he created this Matches Malone criminal persona so he could be a regular person and infiltrate dens. So the idea is, once Poison Ivy in the story says, oh, you gotta ask Matches Malone,
that's when he realizes.
Batman realizes, oh, Matches Malone has to be Clayface
I wish
because
I knew
I'm
that.
Matches Malone, right?
Yeah,
That's what you know, that's what the reader brings to it. But if you read it, it works, is he's just looking for Matches Malone, and he thinks he's figured it out. And so that's kind of you want to set that up as a writer right before the twist. You know what I mean? Like, Matches Malone is Clayface. I figured it out.
Yeah, they feel pretty cool, and then all of a sudden it's like more.
And then Batman and Clayface are fighting.
Oh, that's so much. So much cooler. I wish I knew who Matches Malone was.
And then Batman gets so you say, okay, well, Batman found him. Now there's going to be the climactic fight. And Batman gets his head cut off. Which
Yeah.
a lot of times you're not allowed to do, because it used to be Batman, they'd be afraid that you would take a panel out of context, and Batman getting his head cut off would show up on ABC News or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
So then you say, Batman, what, he's dead, how can it be? But then the conversation turns into one, and they melt, and you realize that it's just, it's just Clayface kind of diffusing himself into two different people.
Do you think that, because I noticed that Shane drew it in such a way that it's just, you don't really see the head.
You have to be careful with decapitation and stuff like that.
I was wondering about that. I was like, that's kind of an interesting way to draw it.
It's not right, but you can also tell that, in a way, it's like, well, it's again, you can see that the head's not attached to the body.
Yeah.
This is, number 62, page 12, I guess it clocks out to in the new format. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it kind of looks like it could be two different ones. Again, duplication was
it
was
could
a kind
be
of
two
theme,
different people.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, even something subtle. I don't know if it was conscious, but you have a double-bladed axe. A lot of mirroring, a lot of doubles in the thing. Because,
oh, really? That was a part of the thing?
That one might be just subconscious, but you see a lot of the things.
It's cool.
Moving on, yeah. So it was a lot of fun to work on and different, So. And again,
the Joker scene was pretty fun.
The Joker scene was great because Batman beats up the Joker, and he says, and Joker's telling him, Batman, this isn't like you, this isn't how you operate.
Yeah, like there were all these hints. Seriously, like you got to read it more than once because.
Another thing in the rain, especially early on, and the idea was that the weather clears up, and in his mind the mystery clears up. Mm-hmm. But when he first meets Gordon, and he said, Gordon, you're like melting away basically in the rain, it'll wash you away. The idea was that the rain is so heavy that make it look as if Gordon might be melting, because he really is. He's Clayface, right? Or a piece of clay. Although Shane and I argued about this after it was done, saying no, Gordon wasn't Clayface. Says no, they're all Clayface. So
yeah, wasn't it?
Or are they? I mean, you got to interpret it. Like, it really is.
And he's never really facing Batman, right? Wasn't that intentional?
Sure. Well, all the posing is intentional, and like I said, and the dialogue is intentional.
And like every single character has either rain dripping off of them, or like they're getting their face knocked out.
Well, that's Joker.
He gets blood everywhere.
Yeah, he's got exactly. That was
so it's sort of again where the people feel like they're all liquid, right?
Yeah, that was definitely
is what I was assuming.
Definitely, thematically what we're doing.
I feel
Although
like
who you calling, and then just to Batman not just beating up Joker while Joker's locked up in a straitjacket, but beating him up with a phone book is something that Batman wouldn't do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But as he's doing it, he's saying, no, this is something I would do. And, because that's what Clayface probably thinks Batman would do. In a sense. So you read the stuff again, hopefully it works on two levels. But
of course, it sort of almost makes you so that you can do anything and you can get away with it.
Well, that's the beauty of it also, because even when they were saying, well, he's not in his new costume, we'll say, well, that'll be the twist. People will read and maybe they're thinking, he doesn't have the new 52 costume. When's this taking place? So, well, it's just kind of Clayface's interpretation of that costume. And we do add some real mystery to it. Like, Clayface is able to fight like Ra's al Ghul, use the freeze gun of Mr. Freeze, stuff that he shouldn't be able to do. And we wanted to keep that out there as, is it really happening? Is it a new Clayface? How could it happen? Just to keep throwing some mystery at it, And that was, a big part was Shane's idea. Like, what if he could really do everything, and he'd be a little bit less of a chump villain?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, and you have a really tarted up Poison Ivy, because that's how people present it. Not everybody, right? But the stereotypical reason you put Poison Ivy in is to kind of show tits and ass. So even if you don't want to do a tits and ass type book, well, you have to, because that's what people expect. So you have to play to expectations. And, Batman throws her out a window.
I know, I thought that was great.
Lets her die.
He just kills her.
So if you want to see a lettering thing that we added in, again, like, we're really heavy-handed with it throughout, so when you give it the second read-through, you see stuff. But again, issue 62 and page 4, where she says matches Malone, right? The way we cut it very specifically, so it's matches and then the next panel, it's alone, meaning he's alone. He's the only one in this story. It's all, just
That's
again.
pretty awesome.
It's,
so many secrets
It's not direct, but it gives it a flavor, right?
Yeah.
So it's a story about Clayface pretending he's Batman and this kind of fantasy world. And maybe that's his kind of escapism, like a person reading a comic book escapes
and
into
yeah,
it.
exactly. It's like what every person in comics does in their head, probably.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Now, if you want to, the one page Shane hated was page, Legends of Dark Knight 62, which is just the Matches Malone talking in the bar, which I thought was brilliantly written, but it's totally gratuitous. It's totally.
We should do it. We should act it out.
Well, you know what? You can act it out.
Do you want to be Matches?
No,
and
because
I'll be
it's
the
all
bad
the
guy?
same person.
Okay.
You're gonna not do any justice.
I'm gonna do it. But I gotta do 2 different voices if it's all me. Why do you gotta always be so cool?
Well, Clayface had to do 2 different voices.
All right, fine. I'll be Clayface, who's being Matches Malone and a bad guy.
Just kind of a lush.
Shh. I'm getting ready here. He's a lush?
Well, the other guy's not a bad guy per se.
Oh, okay.
He's a guy who's just hanging around to get a free beer,
So what?
But they're all
kind of-
Clayface, so it doesn't.
What kind of voice? Listen up.
Yeah.
What kind of voice is Matches Malone? He's kind of like a '70s guy, right?
I think he's he used to in the comics has plaid suit and mutton chops and big things, but it's Batman though. But I always look at him as a little bit Weasley.
Okay.
A little bit underworld.
I didn't get to draw Batman as Matches Malone in that Batwoman thing that I drew, where he was in a bunch of disguises.
In Batwoman Zero. Well, he wasn't like Matches Malone was like a crime figure, you know what I mean?
Oh, really?
And I believe the story was that Matches Malone actually was a real person who looked exactly like Bruce Wayne. And then he died or he left town, so Bruce Wayne assumed his identity. It might have been. Or that might have
That's
there
a
might be a
weird
couple
story.
of well, it was from a time where you had to come up with a story every month, so they came up with something.
Okay, I'm ready. All right. And take this Batman character everyone talks about. Yeah. You know what they say about him? Yeah. They say he never sleeps, out all night to pick off every last one of us. They say he might not be human. Right. You believe that? Oh yeah. Why? Because that's what they say. Well, they are all wrong. I say he ain't human, alright? I say he's an urban myth. And I'm telling you, you won't find anyone who proves it differently. Meanwhile, Batman's right behind them.
Yeah. But, again, that was pretty poor, but, read it.
I know, I did horribly.
It reads better.
We should have not done that. Oh, well. I wasn't really listening to it while I was reading it.
You have failed yet again as a performer, and you should take much more pride in it.
Take pride in failing?
He has the wrong
performance. He has the wrong logo again.
There you go.
Is that a different one from even the other one?
No, that's the other one again.
Okay.
So.
Oh my god, it's so exciting! There's all these little secret things. Yeah. I don't know. Clayface was a really cool design, so I can see why Shane wanted to draw him.
Yeah, Clayface is pretty cool. So we'd love to do more with Clayface, but
Great thing about Shane is he's like such a detailed artist, but he's totally knows how to tell a story too. Sometimes they don't go hand in hand.
Well, everyone tries to take great pride in it. He does take great pride in it. He went to the Kubert School.
Yes.
Learned a lot from the Kubert brothers and even Joe.
Oh yeah.
So But no, it's great. It's a great story. It's great stuff. It again, as you mentioned earlier, we tried to hit every single point in the mythos that you can hit in 22 pages and still have a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was dying to do a Batmobile scene in it. Like just get him in the Batmobile. I just couldn't fit it in though, because then it was like, did he create the Batmobile also as Clayface? And would he be able to do that?
Interesting.
So. Because, if you can mimic a living human being, why wouldn't you be able to mimic...
Well, obviously he's got the freeze gun, so...
that was kind of the point, right? To really push the limits. And, luckily you don't have to explain any of this stuff.
So hopefully they'll put this all in print.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty cool. But yeah, Break the Mold was also the, clever...
Yes.
But a little bit pugnacious, too, where it's like, we're going to change the status quo for for Clayface, but for Batman also. Right? I was like, oh, we're gonna tell an amazingly awesome Batman story that other people wouldn't have the balls to tell. So it had so much balls it sat on a shelf for 3 years, and
Yeah.
they finally printed it. But it was just an amazing amount of fun, and hopefully it works.
I thought it was really good, and I don't know, it's kind of cool to hear all the little things that you put into it.
Oh,
and that's something
exciting.
that Brandon does whenever he writes, So
Yeah, but this one I got to do it without worrying about am I doing too much, because it was all about too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like the perfect thing.
Yeah, and it was just so much fun, and Shane getting to do the scenes the way he wanted to do them and doing his own stuff, and it shows. I mean, the cityscapes are amazing. There's also there's 3 scenes where we're switching, so it's just like, hey Shane, just have him running through Gotham, however you want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because again, it lets you have a scene, because Gotham is such a great character, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's just it's it's good stuff. Sir Richard Sprang is a reference.
Who is he?
There was an artist, Dick Sprang, which is 100% his name, and it's don't flag us for explicit content, but he's one of my favorite Golden Age artists into the late Silver Age, and he worked for a long time. But one of the reasons was a personal reason I wanted to put it, because first of all, Sir Richard Sprang, it dignifies him so much.
Yeah.
When his name was just Dick Sprang.
Yeah.
But there was an amazingly good 3-part Detective Comics run when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the issues, but Chris Robinson, our faithful engineer, maybe will dig them up.
Yes.
That Dick Sprang did the covers to.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a regular Batman story, but inside the story of Batman, and it influenced my part of this a lot. There was a Batman comic book that somebody was writing, but it wasn't based on, again, whoever was writing it didn't know the real Batman. They were just making it up. So Ace the Bat Hound transformed into the Batmobile, and not Flint Henry, not to be confused with Henry Flint, did the comic within the comic.
Whoa.
Who was a different artist. So it was just tied into the story and everything else. And it'd be like Batman was a demon that crawled out of hell, and that was all in the comic, and it started influencing the reality of the story that was happening in the comic that you were reading.
Really?
So it was this really, really good 3-part story about a comic within a comic, and Dick Sprang did the covers to all of them in the kind of old style that he would do.
Yeah.
But with this and Batman was different, because no one, you don't get a style guide if Batman was a real character. So it was based on reports. We had like the spikes were bigger and stuff like that, and it was all different. And it was actually a very good story.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't have at my fingertips the issue numbers, but a 3-part story in Detective Comics in the 80s.
Do you have anything? What else do you have? What else is in here that I don't know about?
There's, it's chock full, as they say.
Fancy.
Yeah, but the art's like great. It's like and I co-wrote this with Shane, right? But it's not just the writing; it's the editorial opportunity. Let somebody do what they want to do.
Yeah.
And at least it's going to be different, and it looks great. It's it's like Shane put his heart into the story, and again, great inks by Sandra and Michelle, great colors on the stuff.
Yeah.
So, and
I think
as a purist,
really cool
it's
thing
like,
for
oh,
him
they
to be
cut it
able
up
to
too
do.
much, but at least it's some. They tried. Someone saw it and said, we have to make
Put
this
it
comic
out.
into a digital version.
Yeah.
So let me cut it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Note to
So-
self: don't make long panels.
Yeah, right. But again, I don't know. If there's different versions or whatnot.
Yeah, we'll figure out how that whole thing works.
Yeah.
But yeah, Shane currently working on a book for Legendary, right?
Right. He's as it's been announced before. He's finished with the next thing big coming out from him is a book called Shadow Walk,
Yes.
written by Mark Waid, coming out by Legendary, standalone original graphic novel, horror, aliens, sci-fi. It's very much like Aliens, the second Alien movie, but with monsters and kind of not just monsters, but like hellish demons and this kind of paramilitary group, and it's pretty cool. He's working on that.
Isn't it something where like they have like holograms of their face in the front of the?
Well, it was a design thing. It's like the mask. Yeah, there's like a mask that goes up in front, just of the face that's kind of floating. That's
pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's great visuals. So
Um,
that's due out in November,
cool.
if I believe, right?
Cool.
So
Yeah.
Shane's always keeping busy. Like I said, he did a lot of his stuff wound up in the Superman movie.
Oh, from Earth One,
Yeah.
because he did the Earth One books.
Yeah, like that, like the whole thing with like, you say, oh, I've seen it a million times before, but they really took from Shane. If you've seen Superman and haven't read Earth One, you should go pick it up. But when it was a different villain in Earth One, but when Zod in the movie takes over the broadcast and says, "Deliver us, Superman," or or else, that's kind of from Shane's and also JMS writing it.
Yeah.
But totally visual, the gravity thing that picked up and was dropping the trucks, that gravity beam.
Yeah.
That was 100% Shane invented and designed for the first
What?
Earth One graphic novel. So.
I hope he got, some ka-ching out of that.
Yeah, some Kachinga.
Ka-ching.
Yeah, look at you, all street.
Ka-ching. I don't think that's street.
Yeah.
I think that just makes me sound like a little kid with one of those, like, cash machines.
DC, they haven't divided up that money yet, but Shane certainly deserves his piece.
Yeah, definitely.
You've read a lot of Shane stuff. What do you like? What stands
I
out?
really liked his Superman Batman thing. I know there were like 2 writers on it, so it's hard for me to remember who was the main guy, but
Yeah, it was a collected in something kryptonite, and I can't remember.
yeah, and it was a really good story. It was Batman trying to take away, like, hide the kryptonite, all the kryptonite from Superman, or destroy it all, and yeah, I thought that, like, the dialogue was really fun. Mm-hmm. So then, like, with Shane's stuff, it's so serious that it was, like, kind of fun to have the way that they interacted. There are a lot of interesting things, like actors that were playing. In the beginning opens up as like a fake movie where they're playing the parts of Batman and Superman.
That's right. Yeah.
And there's like anime versions of people which are really creepy looking in Shane's style, but it's pretty cool.
He'll be the first one to admit it. He made it his own, but he was ripping off the X-Babies that Arthur Adams did
nice.
in an X-Men annual that other people have since ripped off. And Superman basically gets high from some kryptonite.
Yeah.
It was like gray kryptonite or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Superman's out of his mind, and he envisions... They're chibi style. They're super deformed. That's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, for manga fans. And of the Justice League, they're fighting and they're doing everything else. And he did it so great. And then somebody else they've used that since. Mm-hmm. And like, oh man, they're not doing it. They're not. And whoever was doing it, all due respect, wasn't as good as Shane. And, probably because
he was still actually like. I was surprised how well he did do.
Who's this?
But it's Shane.
Oh no, Shane was great. I'm saying
deformed.
they've used somebody else who's done it with the Justice League since.
Yeah.
And it wasn't as good. Like I said, all due respect to whomever that was. I mean, it wasn't his idea, so maybe he wasn't as invested as Shane doing it. But that was something Shane got to bring to the table when, like, it was totally his idea to.
Yeah.
When Superman's high and out of his mind, this is how he sees the world.
Yeah.
So.
But no, it's a good book. He like drew, like even a Tyrannosaurus Rex or something in there. Like there was dinosaurs. There was just a lot of stuff. He also didn't he do Captain Comet or something?
Of course, yeah, with Jim Starlin, who we just caught up with yesterday.
Yes, we were at a Kick-Ass screening.
That's it.
Yeah. It was good.
Saw Starlin there, but that's Shane's kind of first, other than fill-ins, his kind of first long-form work was Mystery in Space.
Which you edited.
That I edited, yeah. And Starlin writing the Captain Comet feature. And they took him off and replaced with Ron Lim, not because of any scheduling thing. I mean, Shane was doing great. It was just, they wanted Shane to do bigger and better stuff.
Yeah, they were like, just stop that right now. And,
because before that, he had done a couple of fill-ins, including Batman Annual 25 and Batman 646. And his stuff was just so good. So, they snapped him up and put him, when they needed him on a big book.
Yeah.
But he's done a ton of stuff. Maybe most read, other than the Earth 1 stuff. But by Comics Fan was the Red Lantern one-shot that he did.
Oh, yeah, where he had created... I still haven't read that one.
He created a whole bunch of the Red... Yeah, he didn't do the main guy, Atrocitus. I think that's Ethan's design.
Okay.
But all of the other ones, are his creations.
Really?
Yeah.
That
are
makes
Red
sense.
Lanterns.
Because there's that one girl, right?
With the one wing? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw her, like, drawn by somebody...
Belize, I think it is.
That I shouldn't say because it was, like, a ton of TNA.
Right.
But it is really funny now that I think of it, because the design is totally Shane's type of design.
Yeah, Shane
You
did
know?
that and a couple of, but Dexstar was the one who everyone was popular.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm taking credit because it's me. I named Dexstar, and
Oh, you did? Oh, cool, cool.
yeah, it's the most famous thing I've done in comics.
I know, but my favorite
Shane
thing you've done in
called-
comics is different.
Yeah, of course. But Shane called me up goofing on. I was working at DC at the time, so maybe I was even on the clock. So maybe it is, I
There you
can't
go.
take credit. But
Oh.
maybe it was on my lunch break, I'm sure. But he put his cat dressed up as Red Lantern because he had to make up all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And he said, "Oh, I just put in there as a goof, and they're gonna make me take it out." And Jeff Johns loved it, and it stayed in. And his cat's name is Dexter. So it was going to be like Dexter the Red Lantern. I was like, no, he's a cat from outer space. It should be Dex Star and, DEX-STAR, like a star. And he put 2 R's on it. So, in return of which, he said he would give me 1% on all the equity money he ever made on Dexstar. And he owes me like $5 or $10, and I haven't gotten it yet. Because they made a toy out of it and a couple of other things. So.
A lot of fans, like, somebody made him, like, they've made plushies of it and stuff.
Yeah. So I get, if ever he gets 100 plushies, I get one of them. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So that's, I guess, the only way you can cut it up. No, I get one. So.
We should interview Shane sometime.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shane's always got a lot of funny stories.
Yeah. We should do it.
All right.
Cool.
But yeah, so a lot of fun. I've known Shane for a long time. Like, should have said this first, but we'll end with that. Shane was doing odds and ends, and his portfolio was sitting in Bob Schreck's pile of stuff.
Yeah.
And Shane was doing it right, like an artist trying to break into business, sending new samples every 4 months, 6 months, or whatever. Mm-hmm. But Bob had a big pile kind of stack up, and it was, I think, my first day there, and one of the things I did at Tokyo Pop was run all of the submissions. So like, go through those piles and just, if there's anything good, pull it out. And you go through it, and it's okay stuff and decent stuff, but nothing great. And said, oh, this one's really good, and I pull it aside. But this is just at a glance, kind of just doing like a quick filter.
Yeah.
Oh, and this one's pretty good, and I pull it aside, and this one I pull it good. And I pulled 4 aside.
Yeah.
And all 4 of them were Shane's, just that he had sent different samples in, you know what I mean? So...
That's awesome.
It's his stuff really does, at the point, rise to the top. And he had a very quick rise. I mean, he'll tell you how long he worked and how hard he worked. But it went really quick.
Yeah.
And, we worked together and been friends ever since.
No, the guy's a superstar.
We called him a rising superstar once at DC because we said that's like so we said that and said it in previews, and then I would give him no end of shit about it too. I was like, hey, you're a rising superstar now, and it was me who had said it, me and Shrek.
Yeah.
And we would both give him a hard time about how big his head was getting, even though it was us who were.
I can just imagine him being totally embarrassed by it.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Another episode of Podcorn. Check it out. Legends of the Dark Knight, 99 cents.
Yeah, you totally should. Why not?
It's good stuff. Yeah. It's amazingly co-written by me.
Yes.
Decently co-written by Shane, and okay art, I suppose, by everybody.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Until next time, mystery topic. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
I know. We're going to have to... Oh, no, it's going to be my birthday episode.
That's 2 weeks away, huh?
Well, are we going to do it before or after my birthday?
I don't know.
If it's before, then it's next week.
Amy's birthday is August 25th.
Yep.
Get ready to say nice things.
Get ready to party!
Also, Michael Cluda's birthday.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll be a special guest.
Yeah, we have to talk to him.
Yeah.
So
we should talk about Kick-Ass, too, by the time, when the whole world sees
once
it.
it's out. Yeah. I have a special scene in my heart.
All right.
That I want to talk about.
Yeah, it's the one, you'll know it when you see it.
Will I? Will they?
It's it's the grossest scene in the entire movie.
But least gory.
It's not that gory. It depends on your thresholds.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Until next time, thanks as always to Chris Robinson.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still laughing about that scene.
Yeah, she loves it so much. I'll fill in for Amy because she's gonna not compose herself.
Go ahead.
Amy at Amy Reader, at B Montclair. Follow us on Twitter, and at Chris Robinson, especially this week, who, we're giving to him this at the 11th hour, and he's gonna put it all.
You're the best, Chris.
You're number one. Or as the scene in number 2 as the Kick-Ass scene might be relevant to say.
Spoil. You can't. That's our job.
We're
not allowed to spoil.
This is talk about meta textual meaning of spoil.
All right, bye. We gotta get out of here. Bye.
Yeah, signing off.